Hey, welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully you're having a great week. We're into June. It's crazy. It's June 4th or 5th already. I don't know what day it is. But June 5th, and yeah, it's already June. May flew by, and we're getting close to pretty much summer, which is unbelievable. I'm in week 8 of my league, which, I mean, we're 2 weeks away from being halfway done, which is absolutely insane to think about. But there's been a crazy fast spring. So before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know this episode is brought to you by Titleist and the Pro V1, Pro V1X golf balls. How does the best get better? Well, we're going to find out because there's a brand new Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X. The original Pro V1 was launched in 2000, so this marks the 25th anniversary of the Pro V1. Titleist R&D asked players what they wanted in the new Pro V1 and Pro V1X, and they said more spin on scoring shots into the green. R&D delivered as both models give players increased spin. They also provide more speed off the tee and more control with the irons. Many on tour are already teeing up the new Pro V1 and Pro V1X, including Ludwig Aberg, Wyndham Clark, and Will Zalatoris. The new Pro V1 is a great fit for most players and a great place to start your golf ball fitting process. Compared to Pro V1, the new Pro V1X has a higher flight and a firmer feel. And there's also Pro V1X Left Dash if you're looking for a flight similar to Pro V1X, but with much lower full swing spin and a firmer feel. You guys know I'm a Pro V1X guy. I like that height. I like that added spin. But visit Titleist.com for everything there is to know about the new Pro V1 and Pro V1X and even Pro V1X Left Dash golf balls today. So, yeah, we're week 8 of my league coming up on here. This is it's crazy how fast this spring has gone by. But overall, played pretty well. I'd say if you look at the assessment for the first 7 weeks, I think I have 4 weeks under 40 and 3 weeks above it or something like that, so, or just above it. I think 41 is my worst score, which each year I typically put up a nice 44, 45. In the beginning of the year, I just struggle. So I will have to say I haven't played amazing. I haven't felt like, oh man, my game is just there. But I have got around from some bad shots and turned them into pars and bogeys and been staying away from a lot of the doubles and stuff like that. I do have a 1-8 on the card on a par 4. So I do have a quad out there. But other than that, I played pretty solid and hit the ball decent. I putted really well. And I think this year, if I had to pick one thing that I think is really improved compared to last year, is my wedge game. I think, having way fewer kind of duffed chips and, D-cells that, leave a ball way short and things like that, and having two kind of chips onto a green or, 2 pitch shots or, whatever, that has really been a huge thing. I've got it on the green. Haven't always got it close to the hole, but I've got it on the green where I'm having a putt, and those extra strokes, around the green there, I haven't had near as many. So hopefully I can keep that going into this week. If you go on the Golf the Barracks YouTube channel, you can go see where I have my my What's in the Bag for week 8 going. And then next week, I'm super excited. I'm playing in a member guest. I played a little one a long time ago. It's probably been about probably 4 years or so ago that I played in one, and I got invited back. So I'm going to go play in one next week. So next week's show, I will give my full What's in the Bag, the final kind of What's in the Bag in a sense, or at least version 1.0 for the year, because I've been hitting balls in my net in the backyard, playing some golf, all that, just trying to kind of get dialed into what is going in to the 14 clubs I'm going to bring for that. And it's like a 3-day event. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I think there might be a practice thing on Wednesday. So I'm going to play a decent amount of golf, and I'm going to have to pretty much play the same 14 clubs. So, maybe 1 or 2 pieces changed if something doesn't work, in the beginning of the week. But, for the most part, I'm going to have to play the same. So I've got to take what I think I'm going to play the best with. Some things I think are really easy. They were easy to put together. Others, I'm still a little bit nervous about. So driver is definitely one that I'm a little bit nervous about. So hopefully we'll have that sorted out by next week. But next week's show will be the full 1.0, what's in there, what was close, if anything. And, if I have to replace a club or something like that throughout the week, what will it be? Because, I'll be showing up to that event, even then, with a handful of extra clubs just in case. I mean, heck, I might just have a whole second bag. You never know. But it should be a lot of fun. I played in, like I said, this member guest a few years ago, had an absolute blast. Near I played, me and my partner, who's the member, we actually won our flight. Made it to the shootout, and then got eliminated on the second hole, unfortunately. Neither one of us, we played the first hole really well, and then the second hole, my partner, because it's alternate shot, he didn't hit a great drive. I tried to hit the hero shot from a 3-wood out of this deep rough to hit this hero shot. I messed that up, and it was just like we made a mess of the entire hole. So got eliminated there, but it was a whole lot of fun, and the whole night or the whole few days was a great time. So excited to go back and do that. But yeah, it's been fun. So I've been hitting some balls, getting some swings in, trying to get more swings in, trying to fix a few things while also trying to narrow down golf clubs. So it's definitely been interesting. But I'm recording this on a Wednesday, of course, like I always do. And if you were I'm going to do a Q&A afterwards. I usually do my Q&A, so I'm going to do that afterwards. If you want to jump in on the Instagram question and answer session that I do with my stories, go check out Club Junkie Pod on Instagram. That's my Instagram account. It's also the same on TikTok, but I don't do questions on there, and I don't really post a whole lot. Same with Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, but on there as well. So yeah, today we're jumping in. Yeah, like I said, we've been testing a bunch of stuff, but I have been hitting a set of irons that I was actually really excited to hit because I didn't know really what to expect from them in a way, but they ended up being really, really interesting. I think this brand is doing a lot of kind of interesting things in terms of new products. I'm excited because I'm going to get a couple other new pieces from them as well that I can share some info with you. But it is Ben Hogan, and I know Ben Hogan's kind of had an interesting history where it was, one of these legendary, iconic brands. I have a set of 1972 Hogan Apex blades that my grandfather owned, that he gave to my dad, and when he passed. And then my dad never really played them because they're blades from 1972, and he gave them to me, and I have them, and I've hit them a handful of times. I've tried to play rounds of them. They're just, they're extremely demanding. They're very cool, but they're extremely demanding. And then, Hogan kind of went into an interesting phase where they were owned. I can't remember who it was. It was I think it was part of Spalding or whatever. And then Callaway bought a big section, including Hogan and Top Flight and all that. And hence where Callaway had the Apex name for their irons. And then they didn't really do anything with Hogan. It kind of just went away. And then they kind of were brought back as this direct-to-consumer brand years ago. And they had some really cool stuff. Had some nice irons, some things like that. And then they just kind of, unfortunately, I don't know what happened, but they kind of went out of business. I don't know if it was it had to be a money thing, but their products seemed really good, all that. They went out of business, but now they're back, and they've been back for a little bit. They're down at the PGA show showing off some brand new stuff this year, and now a lot of that stuff is hitting, is in the market, and you can go buy it. So Ben Hogan is kind of back in the direct-to-consumer space, and they've got a lot of cool different products. The new irons we kind of saw down at the PGA show, that was all kind of there. The new Legend hollow body irons that are more player distance. And then they also had these Fort Worth combo irons, which we'll talk about today. But they got a Fort Worth CB, Fort Worth MB, so a cavity back and a muscle back. And then they have these M50-01 irons, which are the kind of a cavity back as well, but a little bit more traditional looking, milled back on them. Pretty interesting set of irons there. And then if you don't know, if you look back, I did do a podcast a little while ago on the PTX Tour irons that they had that just came out a little bit ago, I think last year, that kind of had a blend where the 4, 5, 6, 7, where they basically were all kind of versions of hollow body irons. And then when you got into, I think it was 8, 9 in pitch or 9 in pitch, they were basically the Ben Hogan Icon iron, the blade. So kind of a cool progressive set that kind of worked with some hollow body stuff. But then this set here, the new one, is the Fort Worth combo set. So basically it's a blend of the brand new Fort Worth CB, Fort Worth MB, and it's an interesting design. I'd say the CB is definitely the most interesting of the two when you look at them. I guess I should pull them out. I've got the irons here. So the CB here is the one that's a little bit more interesting. It's got this unique kind of cavity back, a little thicker kind of lower muscle on it that looks like it protrudes a ton, but you don't see it at address even in the 4 and 5 iron. And then you have the Fort Worth CB, which is kind of I wouldn't call it traditional muscle back blade, but it's got a much thinner top line, very compact, got a lot of mass right behind where you make contact in the ball in the center of the club face for that good, soft, solid feel. but the CBs definitely have an interesting little look to them, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, a lot of CBs out there, everybody just kind of has the same thing. You got this shallow little cavity and all that, and for Hogan to come out and do something just a little bit different is pretty cool to see. But they're both the MB and the CB, both forged from 1025 carbon steel, which is extremely soft. But the big story in these things is, I think, kind of two things. One, these things have this ceramic matrix core, so CMC as they call it. So low on the face, they actually co-forge in this piece of ceramic. And basically what they do is then they can take the weight out, because the ceramic's much lighter than the steel. They can take that weight, move it to the perimeter, and make the club, kind of alter CG, make sure it's exactly where they want it in the center of the club, and then also add some forgiveness, some stability by moving that weight away from the center, more out into the toe and heel. So it's kind of an interesting thing, this ceramic matrix, because we've seen it used by Max Fly, we've seen it used somebody else. I can't remember who it was now. TaylorMade's kind of using a similar thing in the sole of their P7 CBs. So this kind of ceramic thing is kind of taken off a little bit. And the way they're doing it here, at least on a few direct-to-consumer irons, and then, like I said, those Max Flies, which, they're all kind of produced. Most golf clubs come out of a lot of the same factories, but this carbon, or this ceramic metal, or ceramic matrix core is something we're starting to see a lot more, and it'll be interesting to see where else it shows up, because, when somebody has something that's kind of good, it seems to be mimicked and all that, but yeah, pretty interesting that both the CB and the MB have this core in it, and it's actually co-forged into the steel. So I'm not sure exactly how that process works in terms of forging it in there, but I'm assuming that as they're forging this process, they're slipping that piece into a small void, and then maybe doing kind of a final press on it. I'm not 100% sure. But then at the end, everything gets finished, and from the outside here, you don't have any idea of where that is. But it is kind of behind the face and low on the club head. So pretty cool that they're adding a little bit of tech even into the blade, because typically with CBs and MBs, you're not seeing a whole lot of technology thrown in there. So interesting to see that they're adding that in. Of course, with Hogan, they are big because I think a lot of the original designers, and I don't know about the current setup, but came from, there was a company called Score back in the day, and made wedges and irons, and they had this really kind of unique V-sole design, and they were kind of into turf interaction, and Ben Hogan kind of did the same thing. The V-sole on the CB definitely looks a little bit different. It's kind of got that leading edge angle. I'm not going to call it a pre-worn leading edge, because it's really like the entire surface is angled down, and then in the back you can see there's definitely a decent amount of trailing edge relief for turf interaction. And when you look at the blade, the MB, it definitely, you can see it's very pronounced in that leading edge that has the kind of the angle on it that's put into it. But there's not as much trailing edge relief because the sole overall, I think, is a little bit narrower. But when you look at it blade, blades typically have really narrow soles. I think this is a little bit wider sole compared to some other blades out in the market. So a little bit of trailing edge relief on the back, so it should release from the turf fairly well. And that leading edge angle on there definitely helps as it gets that leading edge down, under the ball, helps kind of, get the contact patch up near the center a little bit, while also helping with that turf interaction and not digging as much. So both of them have their own soles. They're just slightly different versions of each other, but that has been a kind of a big thing on a lot of Hogan irons ever since they kind of brought back. Like I said, there was a very Score influence on there. They had a very similar sole design. It's been refined since the Score days, but they were kind of I wouldn't say the pioneers, but they were a big proponent of this sole design with enhanced turf interaction for their wedges and irons. So V-sole theirs, and then these are pretty standard, slightly, I would consider them nowadays weaker lofts. Plan of a 34-degree 7-iron, a 46-degree pitching wedge, and a 23-degree 4-iron. So compared to a lot of distance clubs and things like that, you're definitely seeing a little more traditional loft setup out of these irons, which some people really like. Some people like going a little bit weaker, which is great. And in terms of the combo set, they build this combo set. I don't know if you could order your own, but they do make this combo set. So 4 through 7 iron are the CBs, A through pitching wedge are the MBs. So that is the setup that they ship them with. I don't know if you can make your own and just do like 4, 5, 6 CBs and then do, the rest MBs. Some direct-to-consumer companies, they don't quite have as much custom capability as, traditional companies. But that's also why you can save a whole bunch of money, because these irons here, which they are not cheap, I'm not going to call them cheap, but if you're going to get a 4 through pitching wedge set like I have, and you just do like a dynamic gold, which is what I got in these, you're looking at $9.99, so $1,000, which is not cheap. I will say it's not cheap, but it's also definitely cheaper than a lot of the mainstream big boy brands that are now in the $1,300 to $1,500 range for a set of forged irons for them. So, and these things here look really good. I have to say the fit and finish on these things really nice. If you were to tell somebody these were like cheaper than, pick your big brand of forged irons, from a look standpoint, they definitely wouldn't catch that. They definitely look nice satin chrome finish to it, no real glare. The shaping that Hogan did on these is really good as well. I think like I said, fit and finish here. Now, the one downside to having something that's a little less expensive, I wish they had a few more shaft options out there. If you're someone who is looking at these, which I think they're great irons, the only downside is right now they only have 2 shaft options. They have dynamic gold, just the standard dynamic gold, so R300, S300, X100, or they have the recoil 760 and 780. If you're going into graphite. So those are the only 2 shaft options at the moment, at least they list on the website. So you don't have a ton. I know Hogan used to have some KBS options and stuff like that. I don't know why those are no longer listed, or at least not listed with these irons. But so that is the one limiting factor with these, is that there's just not a whole lot of shaft options when it comes into these irons. But the nice thing is, if you wanted to, and you said, hey, you know what, they don't have my shaft, but I have a set of shafts, or whatever, and you want to get just the heads only, Hogan will sell you heads only, which is pretty nice. So $750, they will sell you this combo set, 4 through pitching wedge. Same setup, all that, as just heads only. So you can go get whatever shaft you want, make them your own specs, own length, all that. You can have that opportunity, which is pretty cool, because a lot of companies do not offer, the big companies don't offer heads only, but a lot of these direct-to-consumer brands will offer you heads only. So you can build your own set if you're into building clubs and you do your own club work, or have a master builder that you really, really like. Great. You can go have your own set built, have them tweaked. And of course, these are forged steel, so bending, loft, and lie are not going to be a big deal if you need to adjust that a little bit for your swing. So overall, really good look. I think the package is awesome. These CBs, as much as they're a little unique from the back with this kind of protruding muscle from a dress, we'll start with the CB, look fantastic. They've got kind of a little bit, the blade length is slightly longer than the MB, not by a ton, but when you set them down next to each other, you're going to see a slightly longer blade length with these CBs. But overall, the offset, very minimal, even from 4-iron through 7-iron. Not much offset to them, just a hair on there. The top line, I think, is, for this iron, I will call it like a medium thickness. It's not razor thin. When you look at the MB, it's noticeably thinner. But this one here, it's definitely not as thick as some other CBs out there. They're thinner than like ZXi7s and some of those. It has a really nice shape to it. On there, you just do have just a little bit of that top line, and it is softened a little bit on the edges. It's kind of rounded over just a touch, but very good looking iron. I think the face height is very proportionate in terms of the irons as well. As you go from 4 down to 7, the face height stays pretty, kind of transitions through the irons, but none of them look like too thin, like the blade length is super long and stretched. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like a super long heel to toe looking iron that has like a really shallow face height. Just something that's not too great to my eye. I like to see a little taller face on it, and these I think work really, really well. I think they're a good combination of being a sharper boxier toe without having crazy sharp angles. So from the look standpoint at a dress, I think they look absolutely fantastic. I think if you're a better player, setting these down, you're going to have confidence in them. You're going to like the look of them. They are just really traditional. So I think Hogan did a great job with making these look like just a traditional CB players type iron. So feel on these, very, very soft. I think with some of this, like I've hit the MaxFly XC2s. Those have a little bit of firmness and just a little bit of clickiness to them. And I think it may just be construction design because these are extremely soft. When you hit them solid, you're going to get a nice soft feel to it, a heavy thud, almost zero clickiness to them whatsoever when you have a good shot, but there's no strange vibrations, no harsh vibrations, anything like that. I would say if you were blindfolded with these and hit them up against a lot of forged other forged CBs, you'd have a hard time picking this one out as, firmer than the others or anything like that. Very soft, very good feel. The sound on it is, like I said, more of a thud. You're not getting much click. It is really, really pleasant. When you do miss it, you'll feel a little bit more. Surprisingly, in the CB, I felt like even when you missed it, really low. I hit one just really low heel, and it was just it was a poor swing, and just kind of flared it up, and it just kind of went out. And that one had a little bit of vibration to it, and it had like a little bit of click, but it wasn't near as bad as I thought. Like I thought this is going to penalize you. Between being a CB and an MB, they're just going to penalize you, and it's going to hurt when you miss. And it really wasn't as bad as I thought. Like you still heard it, you still felt that vibration get to you, but it wasn't near as bad as I was expecting. And some of the experience I've had with some like other MBs and stuff like that, when you hit a really bad miss, you can have some rough feel to them, but not bad at all. So. Very good feel. I think the sound is really solid on them. Whether you're indoors or out, they just feel soft. They've got that thud, and it is pretty nice. So feel on them, very soft. You can kind of feel that ball compress off the face. Very responsive. They did a nice job with both those things. Now, distance on these was extremely consistent. When you hit it well, you knew how far the ball was going. And now while these are probably about half a club, maybe not quite half a club, at least like 3 yards shorter than some of the other irons I've been hitting lately, between, the P770s, which are built for a little bit more speed. The same thing with the Cobra 3DP Tours, which aren't necessarily built for speed, but they tend to be a little faster. Same thing with the Epon AF307s. Like those tend to be just a couple yards longer than this iron. But the consistency is there. When you hit good shots, you know how far they're going. I've yet to hit a shot that I hit solid that I just was like shocked at the number. Whether it was on the course hitting into a green or in my net hitting on a launch monitor, everything that I hit there was very, very consistent. So that was kind of nice. And I think for the better player who's looking for an iron that, they're going to work it into the green and hit some shots, and they want to be able to know, like, hey, my 7-iron goes 160, and that's what it goes when I swing it good, and, the wind's behind, so it's going to go 163, whatever. They're getting that number out of it, and it's going to be consistent every time. So very consistent on well-struck shots. When you do miss it, you're going to notice a drop-off. Is it as drastic as I expected? Again, no. I think with the CB, it definitely is a little bit more forgiving, and I think part of the design of this thing gives some of that mass, moves some of that mass around the head, and it does make it a little more stable. I put some pretty bad swings on it that they came up short of my target, but still were a little bit straighter. Like I didn't miss the green as far right or left as I thought I would with the iron for what it is. So definitely, somewhat impressed with this being a CB and being as stable as it is. Now, it's not as stable as a 3DP Tour, which has all that tungsten and it's kind of that crazy construction. But it definitely, for a player CB that you're looking for precision out of, you're still going to get some stability and forgiveness on it. Now, like I said, with those misses, I did notice the fluctuation in height and the fluctuation in distance on those shots definitely, it was noticeable. You could see those misses affected at least me a little bit more. Were shots, I feel like maybe I would have got away with some other more forgiving style, distance style irons. I didn't quite make those greens, or I just kind of missed. But I never hit one that I missed or I was just in a terrible spot because it was such a bad result. So that was kind of nice there. And they did play, a little bit better than I thought in terms of forgiveness side. Now, turf interaction with this V-Sol or this sole design, really, really good. The first time I took them out was actually kind of it had been pretty dry, like it hadn't rained in a while, and we went out and played them there. Kind of firmer, a little bit firmer conditions. It's always soft in Metro Detroit, but a little bit firmer than just rained. And turf interaction was great. Divots were small. They got through the turf really quickly. Zero digging whatsoever. And then even in something where it's a little softer, these irons here, they definitely got through the turf well, and you didn't have to worry about kind of getting in and getting stuck at all. They definitely got into the turf and just wanted to release and get through quickly. So turf interaction, really, really good with these CBs. I would call the ball flight kind of more true mid. They're easy to get in the air. You can definitely hit them high. I think for the better player, you'll be able to flight it down, work them right to left with no problem. These are going to be one of those things where you're going to be able to kind of shape it however you need to shape it in order to get, from, get onto the green and get close to the hole. But the CB is definitely very playable and very impressed with kind of how these things went. And, for me, hitting an S300, typically haven't been playing shafts in that 127 gram range. So definitely a little heavier feel in terms of overall just static feel. If I was to do these, I'd probably build them up with something a little bit lighter. But I mean, this is a pretty good setup. And again, was able to hit the ball high, and when I hit the ball into the green, it would stop really well. The distance control was really solid. I think a lot of it had to do with just being able to get the ball up high, having it land soft, and having a decent angle of a descent angle that just stopped the ball. Because shots out of the fairway, 5-iron, I don't think I hit any of the actual greens. But with 7 and 6, definitely able to hit the greens, and ball was having just very minimal release. It would kind of hit and just kind of like one hop, maybe roll a touch, but it wasn't rolling out to the back of the green or anything like that. Same thing with out of the rough. You had pretty good distance control. You got a little bit more release out of it. Like any set of irons, you kind of have to play it a little bit short of whatever that number is for the flag. But these things the CBs were really, really good. I think, putting these up against other CBs out there in the market, these things will definitely, they'll definitely hold their own. I think they're definitely got they've got a quality and enough tech in them and all that, where, if you put these up against some other CBs out in the market, I think you'll be really, really impressed with them. Now, the blade was really good as well. Like, I'm not a blade guy. You guys know I don't talk a ton about blades because I don't play a lot of blades. But the MB was really solid. I like the look of it. I think it's got kind of a cool, inverse version of the CB, where the CB has kind of that center pocket kind of milled out, this big muscle. This is a little bit more traditional. There's a little bit of muscle down there in the back, a little bit of material, but then they put a good chunk of material right in the dead center. And a lot of that is for feel and consistency, help get the same ball speed, spin rates, all that stuff when you're hitting in the center, along with having really good feel because there's just more mass there. But it's a great compact look, a little bit shorter heel to toe. When you set it down next to the CB, it's just a kind of few millimeters shorter from heel to toe. Again, face height is a little bit taller. I like that in a iron, especially looking down on it. It just looks good to my eye. These ones here definitely have a thin top line. Top line is definitely thinner, especially when you set them down next to the CB. The set blends really well. Like the shaping is very similar between the two, but you can definitely tell when you have a CB in your hands, because just from the look side of it, that top line is kind of a little more rounded on the top, and it looks a little bit thinner. Same thing, very, very minimal offset, if any. Just a hair. I would say you're talking fractions of millimeters in terms of offset. Very straight leading edge. So to my eye, I think they look really good. But it's a softer looking blade compared to some people talk about Mura baby blades, and those are very edgy and very squared off, and they got really sharp angles to them. These are definitely a little bit softer, a little bit more rounded, but they're not like bulbous and out of proportion. So again, Hogan doing a nice job with the look of these blades. And these things, when you look at that sole, like I said, that sole definitely a little bit wider than some other blades. When I look at, I don't have many sets, but the few sets I do have, definitely maybe something that's a little bit of a wider sole. That less of that trailing edge relief didn't really make a huge difference in terms of turf interaction. Still released from the turf really well. That angled leading edge got through the turf, much like the CB. Didn't want to dig. It would get down maybe a hair easier into the turf than the CB. But not a whole lot. They still didn't want, you weren't throwing into the turf and feeling you got stuck, or you couldn't get through, or that was really slowing you down or anything like that. The turf interaction was still really, really solid on these. Feel, again, very soft. When you hit a dead center, great feel to it, kind of that heavy thud, no clickiness, anything like that. I think, again, if you put these up against some of the better forged, blade style irons out there and other CBs, all that, this thing is going to be a really, really good performer when it comes to sound and feel. I notice you do get a little bit more, you get a little bit more vibration, a little bit more that audible sound on those misses in the MB compared to the CB. Which, I think you would expect. But this one here, same thing. I hit one just so low off the face, early in a round, and it was with the 8-iron. And it was one of those, you definitely felt it. It definitely let you know, hey, you missed this thing bad. And the ball actually went out there fairly decent. I didn't come up, it didn't quite hit the front of the green. I was just kind of in front. It went straighter than I thought, but hit it low in the face, and it just, kind of like you could tell. It's going to let you know on a cold morning, hitting a blade thin, no matter what it is going to definitely, let you know it. And it's definitely going to feel it in the hands. But on better shots, and even shots just slightly outside of the dead center, the feel was really, really good. And I think they did a nice job with the sound and feel in this iron, because it is really good. And again, I think you put this thing up against other irons, and I don't think you could pick it out of the group of saying like this one feels worse or whatever than any of those big OEMs and their forged irons. So shots of this one, again, really easy to get into the green. I'll call it, again, kind of more of a mid-ball flight. Easy to elevate, easy to hit it in there. Like the first shot I hit well into the green was, I think, a 9-iron until like the 4th hole in my league. And the green there has kind of a dip in the middle. And I hit it, and I thought I came up short for whatever reason. Even though I hit it well, I think I felt like the wind was going to kill it, and it wasn't quite going to get there. Hit on the other side of the hill, trickled down just a little bit, and had a nice putt for birdie that I missed. But it was shots like that, when you hit it solid, you pick out your target, and you hit it on that line. They do a really good job of being consistent in terms of distance. They spin a good amount. That steep angle of descent, like, it holds greens from just about anywhere. Out of the rough, these things, I think, carry just a little bit more spin. They hit the green, and the release amount is pretty minimal and pretty predictable. I never hit one into a green that, even out of the rough, that I was like shocked at how far it released. Everything was in control and tight. Now with these, the misses, when you go into forgiveness, I would say for a blade, they're fairly forgiving. I would say, they're probably a little bit closer to like Z Forge 2 from Strixon in terms of forgiveness than they are to like a Mira Baby blade. They're going to be a little bit more playable. And I think, again, moving some of that mass out of the center with that ceramic material probably aids in that. But had a few swings that weren't perfect, but you do notice the drop off a lot more. When we miss it with these, I'm not hitting the green. You're going to come up short, and especially if it's right, you're coming up short right. I'm just kind of getting those things that they would flare up a little bit and fall right of the target for me. But I kind of expected that. It's a blade. You've got to hit it on close to center. And when you're someone like myself who is, working to get back into single digits, but you're currently riding at a 10, this isn't the iron that you should be playing anyway. So those shots there kind of did penalize me a little bit, but for the player who's looking to work it, looking to hit it right and left, looking to flight it up and down, do those things, this is going to be kind of that precision piece that's going to allow you to do that and hit all those different shots and do it very well and with good sound and good feel. Like I said, the stability on it, if you did hit it, kind of that low heel, that ball's going to kind of flare out and go to the right. You're going to see some curve on it. Or the same thing with the toe. You hit it off the toe, you're going to see some curve to it. It's going to kind of hang out there to the left and miss the green. There's just not stability built into this head like a Thai Fusion that has, internal weighting and all this crazy stuff. That stuff isn't here. So, you're going to have to make sure that you hit that shot into the green and hit it solid and where you aimed it and put a good swing on it. And when you do, you're rewarded. It's a really nice feeling. It's great sounding. You end up with a great shot. But when you don't, you're going to pay for it a little bit. And for me, unfortunately, I pay for it a little more than other players who are more skilled. But in terms of appreciating an amazing sounding and feeling blade when you hit it solid, I can appreciate that with anybody of any handicap level. So, but yeah, really good turf interaction, really solid performance. Forgiveness is okay. I'm not going to call this like crazy stable, but it's not bad for the type of iron that it is. And again, from address, I think these things look really well. I think the two irons blend together very well. If they play together as also. There's not anything where, all the gapping, I think, is 4 degrees on the irons, and I never noticed between like 7 and 8 iron any real difference in like, oh, the 8 iron came up way shorter, it's not near as hot, and then like, the 7 iron's too long or whatever. They kind of blended seamlessly together in this set without, you didn't have to go and tweak it or do anything too crazy to make it work. It just kind of worked there, which is nice, which I think a lot of people who would buy this combo set, that's what they want. Like, you'd want to buy this combo set, you want a little bit of stability, forgiveness in the long irons, precision in the short irons, but you don't want to have to go mess with it and go to a club fitter and have them do some stuff and change the lie angles and change the lofts and all that to make this work. It just works like right out of the box. So yeah, Ben Hogan, I think, did a really nice job with these. I think the 2 sets of irons I've hit from them recently, 2 of the new ones, which again, there are a couple more, have been really, really solid. Between the Fort Worth this combo set, the Fort Worth combo set, and then hitting those what is it, I think that's the PTX tour. The PTX tours, those are really, really good as well. So the PTX tour is probably more up my alley because you're getting a little bit more forgiveness out of the whole set. I think it's 9 in pitching weight or blades, but the rest of the set is pretty much a little bit more, distance, a little bit more forgiveness built. So that's probably a little bit more up my alley. But this set here, I think if you're, that single digit player who's, somebody who's probably, I call it 8 and below, this could be a really solid set, especially if you're kind of an iron player. That's your big thing. They are really, really solid, and for the money, they're a little bit cheaper than than something else you could buy from a big OEM. Between $9.99 or $7.50 for just a set of heads, you're getting a really high quality set of irons that's going to perform really, really well. So, Ben Hogan's got a lot of good stuff. Like I said, they've got different irons out there, but they also just came out with some brand new woods, fairways, and hybrids. And I think I have one of each coming. I think I've got the LST driver. They make it's kind of cool. They're making an LST and a Max driver, a Max fairway wood, and then I think I have a hybrid is coming as well. So I'll be able to test those and give them a shot also, which will be pretty sweet. So excited to try the new woods. The drivers especially look pretty interesting. Some decent adjustability on it and all that. It'll be pretty cool to see how those play. So. We'll do those later, but that is the Ben Hogan Fort Worth CBMB combo set, which I said big fan of. I think it does really well, and at a price that's a little bit cheaper than some other options out there. So I would love to see him add some new shafts to the Matrix to cover a little wider range of golfer. But at the moment, it's still a pretty darn good set. So if you go to benhogangolf.com, you can check out kind of all the specs, all the details on the irons, and also check out like the new woods and all that. But all their new stuff is on there, and there's a decent amount of it. So it looks like they're kind of closing out and blowing out some of the old stuff and bringing in some of these new designs to kind of freshen things up and bring some pretty high quality products to everybody. So they may not be the cheapest direct to consumer out there when it comes to their clubs, but their stuff is definitely really, really solid and performs really, really well. So super high quality stuff there. So again, check that out, and I think that's all I've got. So, like I said, check this one out. If you're wherever you're listening to the podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, whatever you can do on a podcast. You can watch this on YouTube if you want to watch it. Just search either Club Junkie or Golf 3X Radio, and then if you want to follow on social, like I said, at Club Junkie Pod. So that's all I've got for today. Hopefully you guys have a great one. Hopefully the weekend's going to be nice. Hope you get out and play some golf. And next week we'll jump into another What's in the Bag, and I'll play a decent amount of golf next week. So I'm excited to report back after that and let you know how things went. So have a good one, and we'll talk to you guys next week.